What is up, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic time. Today we've got to talk about Hitbox and a recent controversy that they kind of started online with the announcement of their licensing program. So for those of you who are still unaware, there are alternate, decisions that could be made when you're looking at a controller. You may want a pad, you may want to go to a stick. I wish I had a level S to show you guys. Well, technically, just use a keyboard. And you've got that whole alternate controller scheme when you want to approach fighting games. So now we have Hitbox themselves. Now, kind of quote unquote the pioneers of the whole leverless scene. It's really them that spawned so many others to take up on the design and essentially create this economy of leverless controllers that we see today. So Hitbox kind of realizing how many competitors have spawned are trying to put themselves ahead. And to be honest, this really feels like a step back from a community perspective in order to get a licensing program going. So we're going to be diving into that. Let's digest what is happening exactly. So first things first, we get onto their Hitbox licensing program just to get a feel of what it is. So we at Hitbox have been part of the FGC for well over a decade now, and it has been a wild journey of ups and downs fostering our simple leverless design. In a room dominated by arcade sticks, Hitbox could not have made it this far without the incredible support of our customers, friends, and fans who believed in our design long before anyone would dare touch a controller made of only buttons. And while it was a community fringe for so long, an entire leverless industry has blossomed from the Hitbox, bringing in many new controllers in all different shapes and sizes that utilize the classic Hitbox layout. It has grown to the point now that there is a vast and almost overwhelming landscape of leverless options. Some of these controllers are of great quality, while others simply are not. In that light, we would like to welcome the best into the Hitbox licensing program. And now we're going to go a bit further as they explain why this came about. So, our protected intellectual property. When we developed the Hitbox in late 2010, we believed its design was the future of fighting games and made the decision to apply for a patent on its unique button layout. We aim to share the use of the intellectual property with well-deserving companies who share the same customer-driven values as our own. Licensing provides our company with the ability to share our IP without the worry of the other companies damaging it. Through the licensing program, we can officially endorse and collaborate with other high-quality companies and manufacturers. Additionally, we can also help ensure that every player's experience on a leverless controller is a positive one. Now, this is, in the opinion of many, kind of hypocritical coming from Hitbox, as some don't really have that much favorable experiences with the company itself in terms of the product itself. Also in terms of the whole grand scheme of what they would have promised. One of the biggest things that they were talking about for a plethora of years was the PS5 connectivity. Now, Hitbox is able to connect to PS5 if you have a Brooks Wingman FGC converter or some other way to bypass and essentially trick your PS5 into recognizing it as a controller, right? Very complicated. Some people don't like that process. They don't want to go through that. And many alternative controllers have spawned that have completely eliminated the need for even having a Brooks Wingman converter, because the Hitbox relatively retails for about 250 US thereabout. And on top of that, you've still got to get a converter, which is roughly 80 US. Quick maths, we're looking at a 310 or 310 to 20 investment for a controller that could essentially break at any moment if the PS5 updates, and then you have to wait until Brook Wingman has the compatible update to that. So it's very technical for somebody who may not be that interested in having that whole rigmarole of going about. But let's continue on to what this licensing kind of entails. So as they kind of just gave a brief description of what licensing is, as a legal agreement between two parties where the owner of the intellectual property rights grants permission to another party to use said IP in creating their product, right? Now, they have applied for the patent and they did succeed in getting the patent because they're actually a part of their website. They have the patent information, so you could check that out as well. Now they talk about their core value. So we did hear them mention the fact that, look, when we sell a product, we want somebody to know that the buttons are good. This will not be affected in their next major or their next visit. And overall, it just feels like a good product, you know? So that is their core values in terms of controller quality. Now they spoke on customer service. Problems happen. Above all else, at Hitbox, we try to ensure that every customer is assisted with their controller needs. Companies participating in the Hitbox Licensing Program must strive for the same type of responsiveness, care, and detail that our customers come to expect. It is required that you, the manufacturer, show good faith in maintaining a positive experience for everyone involved. Now, let me tell you something. That is something that could be easily monetized by Hitbox, in the sense that if you're a company producing that and Hitbox says, look, these are our standards, but in order to get that standard, it's kind of like a test that you would have to go through. Here's a course on our customer service. Here's what we expect when you carry our brand. You've got to pay for that. You've also got to pay for additional things in order to keep your company relevant with what our core values are. I mean, that's something that I myself experienced in my young working experience, you know, in a sense of a buy over. And then there are certain demands of what this customer service looks like. The company then had to essentially pay for a program in order to implement it into training us as employees. So this is a very schemy, slimy thing that Hitbox is doing. And now we see that they have a level system. The level system was created to be as inclusive as possible with a wide range of company size and growth in mind. Hitbox was born and raised in the FGC, and we know what it means to work out a garage with no funding. We also understand the continued ups and downs that come with company growth. Hitbox as a company ourselves may have grown since our funding in 2011, but in the gaming peripheral industry, we are still considered a small growing business who experiences new challenges every day. Creating 3 license categories based on merit, not size, is our solution to work with as many deserving companies as possible. And now we have a level system of black, red, and gold. So the categories are represented as levels, red, black, and gold, to determine a range of benefits and support. So, you know, I ain't really trying to say that this sounds like a pyramid scheme, but it's not, you know. And then they go on to say that red is the standard starting level, black is the next level of proving quality and consistency, and gold is for the licensee that go above and beyond both as an organization and in supporting the community. Now, this rating system, they say it's based on quality. Of course, we're not really seeing this in action. This is just an announcement that they put out, and trust me, the responses were visceral because it really felt backhanded. A lot of people in the FGC really do love to keep the business and the corporate conversations outside of the fighting game community, because there's a lot of love for these games that have been put in by the community, and they felt like, okay, Hitbox was here for the love of it. No. And on top of that, when you start to kind of talk at this level, what happens to the average Joe who is quite capable of making his own level-less controller, his own stick, and selling it? Do they now have to apply for these standards? What if I'm just a hobbyist? I make these sticks and I turn them over, not necessarily for a profit, but I like to make sticks. I like to see people get their custom sticks or level-less controllers. Do we have to go through this program? Is that so? These are some of the questions that have been raised, and I think they're doing a horrible job. I don't know who they have on the social media team, but they're doing a horrible job at answering certain questions. So someone tweeted out, I'm not sure who your PR is, but I feel this is not the way. You're only turning the whole community who would consume your product if you made something new and intuitive against you. Instead of using your money to C&D competitors, I believe that's cease and desist, you should use that to better your brand or product. Hitbox responded by saying, we appreciate your perspective and concern. We have been putting resources into our products and expect to have some cool news to share soon. And once we're allowed to, we will provide the PS5 compatibility that ourselves and the community want. So, you know, we already mentioned that there's already controllers doing that. They have already bypassed that need to get a whole nother converter, which could be argued creates input lag and all of this latency issues. That's already been bypassed. That's not something that Hitbox is going to magically invent and finally get there. You know, they're in competition with not only just other companies that have spawned and figured out a lot more things quicker than them, they're also in competition with official Sony licensed brands. And I think what is happening with Hitbox and what they have not understood is how much larger the FGC has become since 2010 in terms of not just people who are looking to compete, but people who are casual but are interested. So they want to expand on how they play fighting games, whether it be from the games they play, the communities and discussions they get involved in, and most importantly, the controllers that they use. When you tell me a Hitbox controller is roughly about a $350 US dollar investment, I'm looking at you like I have to be going to majors, I have to be winning stuff, I have to kind of be a top dog, right? And here you have a product that essentially comes off as a luxury product. And on top of that, when you have that, you have competitors who are making much cheaper alternatives. Let me tell you all something. When is the last time you've actually seen a Hitbox on a high level? When is the last time you've seen the original Hitbox controller used at a high level? I've been seeing a lot of the Sehawe, I believe. You're right. The Sehawe arcade sticks, those level-less controllers have kind of essentially taken over. Then you've got the Razer Kitsune. I don't know who's out here buying the Victrix. Like, yo, if you have a Victrix, I assume you're sponsored, bro. Like, you either sponsored or somebody really love you to give you that. I'm not gonna lie for you. But I can't recall right about now how many people are using the Hitbox at that level. So for me, it almost feels like if Hitbox, yo, you provided the blueprint and then you faded away into obscurity because, bro, you've been surpassed. There are other alternatives that people are not only willing to talk about and review, but these companies are reaching out. They want people to use their product. They're not only providing something that works at a high competitive level, they're also providing a product that the average Joe can invest in, especially if he's a fighting game enthusiast. You see, I think we have this really strict way of defining people who play fighting games. You have casual players and pro players. But I believe there's an in-between. There's probably the amateur. There's the enthusiast. There's somebody who is possibly just actively getting better at fighting games. They want to be a part of the community. So in order to stay relevant in the discussion, they get better at it. But they're not necessarily willing to go compete or so. And when we have these decisions being made by the top dogs of the industry in terms of the technology associated with the fighting games, I believe it's a bit dangerous because it is clear that despite much need or much want for more official kind of corporate mindsets to come into fighting games, they generally come with good intentions and then they get disconnected from the community on a whole because Hitbox really didn't think. They genuinely, this doesn't feel like an announcement where they really thought about what was going on. You're essentially trying to crush the competition around you by saying that if you're going to make this design, you have to be with this, and then they masquerade it around, oh, well, we care about our customers, we have high values, we also want our customers to get the best products, but you're not necessarily even providing the best products yourself. You know, it really comes off as the Axe brothers who try to copyright reaction videos, and we all know what happened to those guys, right? There's even a comment that says, great, I'll take a look as long as it's just the trademarks and patent on the layout. I think people are probably just misunderstanding. Plus, it's not like you'll be able to sue the Japanese, Korean, or Chinese controllers anyways. If Disney couldn't do it, y'all sure as hell can't. I'm not really sure what they're referring to with Disney. But essentially, a lot of people are saying, dog, like, you're not going to win that battle And trust and believe, you just burned a lot of goodwill. There's been a lot of goodwill burning in the FGC recently. What is going on? Multiple quote retweets are essentially saying, y'all are messing up. This is not the way. What are you trying to patent? The very origin of how people would have controlled fighting games. The hitbox largely borrows from the original arcade stick control scheme, and there was never a problem with that. And it's not looking good for them. I even look at the comment from Broski said, have you guys considered making your product competitive instead of turning into digital landlords? And that's really and truly it. Like, why is it that this licensing program has to come to essentially hold people back so that you're not even gaining an edge here? Well, you are, because essentially now everybody's gonna have to come through you and pay you, and then on top of that you have this whole level program, which once again the customer service could be monetized on there, and who knows how they plan to execute this licensing program and level program with the red, black, and gold. And it's very strange that they do this amidst everything that's going on right about now, because the FGC is really on edge. I don't think the FGC is in a place where they want to hear some big shots come and talk to them about, well, guys, this is what we're doing, and we're essentially going to kill even more aspects of the FGC that you already appreciate. Hitbox, this is not the right move. Please make your products more competitive. The landscape has vastly increased. You're no longer the top dogs there. Maybe you are, perhaps maybe you're not really even in quality, because at the end of the day, most people are going to buy these products as the base and then switch out the buttons and do whatever they want, because at the end of the day, the whole feature of this is to make the most comfortable controller that you can. And I don't think this is a good decision on Hitbox's part. It looks really bad, and genuinely, like I said, when last you seen an original Hitbox controller? That's just me. Maybe I haven't been looking a lot, but I've been seeing those Soundwave sticks. I've been seeing even fight sticks are returning. Like, at the end of the day, this is still valid. This is still a valid controller. I've seen top players such as NuckleDu Punk, Umisho, Mena RD, they're still using their controllers. So who is this even really supposed to affect? Who are these customers that you're talking about? Because we have people who have been appealing to people, making much more affordable controllers. And then on top of that, there's a case where pros are not really in a state where they want to advertise these controllers. But if they're willing to, I don't think this is anybody's gonna want to be aligned with this moves and the amount of shenanigans that you guys have pulled off in this quick announcement. But guys, that is what we are talking about today. That's all I got to say on it. My perspective is this is a pretty stupid move on Hitbox's part. Y'all have got to become competitive, because trust and believe, there's a lot of competition out there, and they've surpassed you in a plethora of ways. The ease of switching out buttons, the whole ease of getting the item. Much times you can't even order a Hitbox because they're just not available. Same thing with the snack box. Snack box comes back quicker than you guys. That's how been replaced you are at this point. I don't even see that much aggressive marketing from other fighting game controllers as much as Hitbox. But to me, it seems like y'all are so aggressive on the marketing without recognizing you got to be much more aggressive on the quality of product. Let me know what you guys think below. Let's get a discussion going in the comment section below. And of course, I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, stay gaming. Maybe not on a Hitbox, but stay gaming on a Nux controller.